for joining the Take the Limits Off podcast. I'm your host, Mary J. Morton, and I have three lovely guests here with me. I'll introduce them in just a moment. But today, our podcast is about saboteurs and sage and how they impact our lives and well-being. I don't know about you, but for me, I have self-sabotaging conversations quite often, and they talk me out of doing some amazing, extravagant, extraordinary things. And so today, I believe it's important for each of us to identify, expose, and overcome these saboteurs so that we can live the best version of ourselves. So first, I want to introduce my lovely guest. I'm going to start with you, Deb Williams. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So first, Miss Mary, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. But my name is Deb Williams, and I am a creative who believes in leveraging the power of storytelling to bring people together. I started a storytelling platform with a few friends of mine, a faith-based platform called The Blank Exchange. And our initiative is essentially to intentionally curate spaces to encourage people to share honest, real-life experiences for the glory of God. And so thank you for having me.
I love it. Thank you for being here. Valerie Pierce.
Well,
hello, love.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I am Valerie Pierce, as I said. I'm an author, I'm an educator, and my work is sitting down at tables with women and talking about how we do life together, how we grow, how we become the best version of ourselves. In Him, we live, move, and have our being, and this is how we're doing this, so I'm excited to talk more.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Ramanita Smith. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me as a guest on this podcast. It's truly an honor. I am Ramanita Smith, and I am a wife, a mom. By trade, I am a brand strategist. So I've worked in brand strategy and brand marketing for over a decade, but recently pivoted to be a podcaster working on a podcast called Communion that is focused on reconciliation with God, ourselves, and others to address generations, especially younger ones that are walking away. And then I am also an author in the making, working on a book about what I've learned about the character of God through being a mom.
That's so good. I can't wait till that book comes out. I'm excited for that. So thank you all for being a part of this podcast today. And I feel like it's important for us to identify what gets in the way of us being the most authentic version of ourselves. And these saboteurs that we're going to talk about are designed to keep us from really understanding and maximizing our true potential. So I want to share some context as we go into this conversation. So there are 10 saboteurs, and an author by the name of Shazad Shamin, I always mess his name up, I'm sorry, but he wrote a book called Positive Intelligence, and in it he describes these 10 saboteurs and 5 sage. And the saboteurs are, based on his research, they are the internal enemies, and they are a set of automatic and habitual mind patterns that come with their own voice, their own beliefs and assumptions. And so by that, they have influenced most of our lives if we just stop, pause, and take a look, and think back on how we have shown up. And then there's the sage, which lives in the right regions of our brain. And that's where we find peace and happiness. It's that calm of who we are. And that, to me, in this day and time, is where we need to spend time, is that peace and calm, because there's so much chaos going around about us, right? Mm-hmm. So there are 10 saboteurs, and I want to share with you, just to give you, our audience, some context. So the first one is the judge, and I'll talk a little bit more about the judge, but it's the master saboteur. It's the one that we really have to pay attention to. Then there's the avoider. And by the way, while I'm calling these out, grab a pen or your device and write down the top 3 you think are yours, okay? So there's the judge, there's the avoider, the controller, there's the hyperachiever. Anybody out there who's a hyperachiever? Pleaser, Me, restless, stickler, and victim. Okay? So those are our 10 saboteurs. And then again, the sage represents the deeper and wiser part of who we are. And it helps us to resist the drama that the saboteurs want to bring to our lives. And so they consist of empathy, explore, innovate, navigate, and activate. And so they generate this high success and sustained happiness. So that's a general overview. I just want to set some context. Okay, so let's just jump in.
Right.
So the Jeff Saboteur it's the master saboteur. And it's born, according to Shirzad, it's born sometime in our childhood when we answered the question, to survive and succeed, I must do what? And however we answered the what gives permission to those saboteurs to be in operation in our lives. Okay? So, with that in mind, my first question for you, and any of you can answer this, in your childhood, when you answered the question, in order to survive or succeed, I must do what? What was your what? What was your what?
I can go. I know mine. I thought about this one
Yeah.
quite a bit. So my answer, my what was, in order to survive, I must, or in order to succeed, I must belong and be safe. So for me, I think those words go hand in hand a bit, and they played a massive role in shaping who I am as a person. First and foremost, I'm mixed. And so just off the bat, from an identity standpoint, I think that sense of belonging and coming from two complicated pasts and that sometimes oppose one another has played a critical role in that. I also come from a single parent home, and one that I'm a daughter of a kingpin. So my father was in jail for a lot of my life. I was raised by a single mom who had me at 16, and we really grew up together. I grew up in New York on the East Coast with the hustle and the bustle. And then, I performed well in school. I saw that as my my ticket out in a lot of ways. But because of that, then I found myself being the girl from the hood that went to a private school, or, first college graduate in my family, and then I went into corporate America, and the imposter syndrome that came with it. I mean, there are just so many areas of my life where I saw my saboteurs really manifest as a result of me trying to belong, trying to prove that, yes, I belong over here with this group and this group. Yes, I can sit in the hood with my friends, and I can go to this private school, and I can be articulate and on National Honor Society and all of those things. But I found myself always trying to sometimes be a chameleon as a survival method to prove that I can be here, I belong, give me a seat at the table, if you will. Yes. But I think a lot of times that also was me convincing myself that I could do that. And then as a result, it always has me checking my bearings. Am I safe in this environment? And what do I need to do to belong or to be safe in this environment? And so those are really how my judge started to manifest really early on.
Wow. Yeah.
I can build off of what you were sharing, TT. And I thought it was really interesting because for me, the question that I answered as a child was, in order to be safe, I had to be perfect. I had to be the best. And my main saboteur was the stickler. And for those of you guys who don't know a lot about the stickler, it is like perfectionism and a need for order and organization taken to the extreme. So I think quite simply, it's like perfectionism on steroids. And very similar to you, Romanita, when I was growing up, I was the second of 4 children, growing up in Little Rock, Arkansas, with both of my parents. And in the 4th grade, my mom lived half of the year in Nashville, Tennessee, because she was attending Vanderbilt University. And then and my family were still living in Little Rock. So every weekend, we would either be in Nashville or we would be in Little Rock. But there was like an immense pressure on me as the eldest daughter to help take care of like my other siblings, and to also, for lack of better words, I didn't want to be a burden on my father. But more specifically, I remember in the 5th grade, I had a teacher, and he essentially held a very high standard because he knew my mom was away at school, and he told me that just because she was away at school, he was not going to cut me any slack on like getting grades, but instead he challenged me to be the best. And so it led me on this unhealthy voyage of being the best in school. And literally from the 5th grade all the way to the 8th grade, I made straight A's.
Wow.
Every single semester, every single quarter, every single semester, except for one in the 7th grade, and I got a B. And I was so stuck on the B that I remember calling my 7th grade social studies teacher in the summertime and asking if I could do an assignment just so I can get an A. But it led to this constant pursuit of perfectionism and achievement and wanting to be the best. And I think at that time in my life, it served me because growing up in, and that's what I was saying, see, in an urban neighborhood, an all-Black neighborhood, and having great grades, it was my path to success. But I think now, as I look at my life, I think that sometimes it's taken to an extreme, and we often confuse the pursuit of excellence with the pursuit of perfect. And so sometimes things are done, and it's knowing when to be able to let things rest and exist, and instead of pursuing something that you cannot possibly attain or achieve.
Wow, that's really good because as you think about these saboteurs, and specifically the judge, right, and how we pick up these saboteurs, they might be useful in our childhood, but they wreak havoc as adults, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I think that's something to call out because we needed them, if you will, to survive, to succeed as we thought. But in our adult stages, it's quite different.
It no longer serves us well.
Exactly.
It no longer serves us well, and it no longer serves those that are around us.
Right.
That's why it's a saboteur. And for myself, hypervigilance and pleaser and stickler. And hypervigilance and pleaser are hand in hand. And I found out early, in order to succeed, in order to be successful, survive, that I needed to be accepted, that I needed to be pleasing, and that I needed to shipshape, like my personality by person. What do you like? Oh, you don't like this about me? Well, I want to please you. I want you to like me. I want to, and I think the things that played a major role in it are, well, faith, my father, a great father, but my father, and then my gender as a woman. Because I grew up in a time where girls were cinnamon spice and everything nice, right? You can't be bossy. You cannot be bossy. You can't be assertive. But I was an extremely precocious, inquisitive child, highly verbal, very early, loved to read, sing before I could talk, those kinds of things. And the uniqueness of it is beautiful to say at this table. And had I been born as a digital native, I probably would have been some type of YouTube sensation. Right?
Come on,
you know,
you still can.
on that,
You
right?
still can.
Oh wow! Thank you,
Talk
sis.
to us after.
But you know, as a little Black girl of the 70s, when children are to be seen, not heard, and all of these narratives, right? There was a lot of suppression there, and so I wanted to be pleasing. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be all of these things, and I spent a whole lot of time, time to, you know, if you guys remember, Wonder Twin Powers, activate, shape of. So what can I be to you today? What can I be to Mary today? What can I be to Ramonita today? You know, and so those were the saboteurs, and I look out for those now because that started very early on, where I felt like that's who I had to be. And so the diligent work now is knowing and identifying and then doing the work for the things, as we talked about, that no longer serve me well.
Exactly.
And it not only me, but it doesn't serve the people that I'm in relationship, the women, the men that I'm close to. It doesn't serve us well because they're not getting my authentic, best, full self.
That's good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It is good. And when we're not our most authentic selves, we're cheating ourselves.
And the people around us.
Exactly.
Oh, say
Exactly.
that.
I love it. What you said is a great segue into the next question, because now that we are adults, how have those specific saboteurs impacted you professionally and personally?
Well,
Yes, come through.
I was like, if we're going to go
We're going
there.
together. I knew it. I
It's
could
like,
feel
while
it.
I'm in the
I
bed.
feel my own. Yeah.
So, and I've been very fortunate because in my professional day job, I work for a brand that invests a lot in my personal growth and development. And managing a team of direct reports, I think at times you forget how your actions impact other people. And what's been amazing is that they have been my greatest mirrors to remind me of like things that I don't necessarily see about myself. So as I mentioned earlier, what did I say was the stickler?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was my number one saboteur, like really high. If you guys saw my scores, you'd be like, oh my gosh. But this need for perfectionism, and I see how that shows up every day in the workplace when I'm talking to my team, because it either A, comes across when I'm talking to them about work, and I'm just like, hey, like we need to do these things in order to like get it out. I think that it has also impacted us negatively because it allows us from actually moving forward because of the pursuit of perfectionism. And what's been really great though is that they've given a lot of grace and have extended an immense amount of feedback to say like, we think that this isn't a place where we can continue to move forward. But I think that those are things that you don't see because oftentimes you view them as like your superpower or your virtue.
Right.
For me, I view that, being a perfectionist, being very meticulous, paying attention to details, ensuring that things are going to be right, knowing that people will count on Deb because she's going to do it the right way. I viewed that as a badge of honor, but I think the older that I've gotten, I've realized that it's taken a toll on me and eroded, a bit of who I am. Because there were nights that I would stay up to 3 o'clock in the morning working on decks to ensure that they were perfect for leadership presentations that were 45 minutes long, and then people would not revisit them afterwards. But
And how did that make you feel?
okay, so to be honest, it made me feel good because we killed the leadership presentation.
Yes.
But what I will say,
That would be quick to call after like, we smashed that.
but I think that what it also
Yeah.
did is it impacted me physically because like I would be very tired like the next day. But it also took away opportunities from other people on my team because like they know Deb is going to be the one to finish the deck. And so I think you also have to ask yourself with the saboteurs, are they taking opportunities away from other people to grow?
Yeah.
And I think that is when
That's well
I
said.
had to realize you have to change or the people around you will not have opportunities to allow their lights to shine as well.
But can I say
That's
something
excellent.
about that? Because I think like the hardest part is our saboteurs served us at some point, right?
Absolutely.
Like right now I'm talking to my therapist a lot about this. What got me here while I was in survival mode is no longer serving me while I'm in thrive mode.
Right.
And it's actually doing more harm than good. But it's really hard when you're conditioned for people to use the things that are quote unquote saboteurs to award us, to promote us, to praise us or whatever, when it's to somebody else's advantage. And then when it's no longer serving the people around us, then all of a sudden it becomes the thing that we get dinged for. It's the thing that shows up on our performance reviews as an opportunity, right? And so it's really hard because it's a blessing and a curse sometimes. It is the very thing that got us to where we're at.
Yeah.
And it is the very thing that would take us from there as well. And so that's hard.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, because I a couple of years ago I did a video on just inspired and really did some work on the inner child. I did this video called "Let the Little Girl Go." Okay, let that little girl go.
I need to write that on top of my dinner.
Valerie, let the little girl go. And it comes from this place of really professional environments, believe it or not, that I was in. And I would see, and I talk about women because I am a woman, that's my heart, how we live and do life together is so beautiful and gorgeous. Thank you, God, for making us who we are.
Yes.
And but I would sit at tables with beautiful, brilliant women, and I would see all of these toddler behaviors.
Wow.
I just put my head down.
Toddler behavior. Just me. No, listen to me. Oh, they'll make me feel sad because you didn't listen to me. And all of these behaviors are happening. Now, when you have a little child, you can correct that. We're parents. You can correct that. You can help that. But when you're at a table with grown-ups and all of this grownness is sitting here, but this little child inside is acting out, it's very difficult to know how to respond to that. And a lot of times I think it's because we don't know. We don't know what it is. And I had a situation this morning that was so helpful for today. Really quickly, my father called me and he said, Val, he said, help me understand how to get these people that are calling me off of my phone. I don't want them calling me. There's something I can do, right, for unknown callers? Absolutely. Daddy, let's go to settings, okay? Go to your phone and then just click this button. You'll no longer have, folks that you don't want calling you. And he said something that was so profound. He said, there are so many things in life that are simple. But if you don't know it, it's very, very hard.
Yes, that's really good.
And so the work that we're doing today, you see these words and it sounds like really simple, right? But if you don't know that you are sitting at the table and allowing the little girl inside to act out of, because she's been harmed, she didn't feel safe, she didn't feel heard, she felt like she had to overplease, or she felt like there was so much pressure, then we don't really get the benefit of the beauty that can come out of the work that we're doing together. And there's the sabotaging piece of it, because we miss out on so much because we don't know. We're looking at these words, but these words really mean something. And when you can identify them in yourself, in the root, right, of
That
where
part.
they come from,
That part.
and you can identify, then I get to sit at the table with Mary, with Deb, and with Juanita as a full-grown woman, knowing how to wait my turn, knowing there's enough space at this table for all of us, and that all of our lights are shining, right? And I don't have to try to shade or steal something or even go through anything. I just get to sit here and do all of
And
enjoy
be.
it. And be.
Just
Because I think that you said something so powerful, Valerie.
Yeah.
But it's just, your light is so radiant in the way that God made you. It's like, you have to let that shine, and you can't be like someone else. Like some of us are flashlights, some of us are Christmas lights, some of us are, different. Use my light.
Sunshine.
Hey!
My word this year is reignite.
But the issue is I think oftentimes when you were talking about letting the little girl go, I think the root of that comes from people trying to be lights that they weren't created to be. And it's like, if we can learn to amplify the light that God has placed in us and serve in the places that we're supposed to, that is when we will shine the most bright, or the brightest.
But I also think that with some of these saboteurs, it's really easy to be competitive.
Yep.
To be the person that's trying to be the light that you're
Absolutely.
not. I think when I don't think I addressed my saboteurs, but I can talk about them. My three were restless. I want to say it's the New Yorker in me, but there's so much more to unpack here. But everybody knows me. No, I can't sit still. I'm a pleaser, and I'm a hyperachiever. And your question was about how it shows up professionally, correct?
How has it impacted you professionally and personally?
Yeah, so I think this
As
is
an adult.
I think this is a really interesting question for me as I sit in the midst of my transition and in the midst of my pivot. I have always felt like performing was how I would let my light shine, or how I would get the approval of others. So I've approached every relationship, every task, every job. I meet somebody, okay, what can I do to win them really quick? Like, I want to do. Even with God, like, okay, God, did I wake up this morning? Did I open my Bible before I open Instagram? Did I pray? Did I journal to you, even if it was for 5 minutes? Don't know what I said, but like, did I check my list off? Oh, okay, great, you know? And so I'm always busy, but busy is not productive.
No.
And I found myself being a human doing versus a human being. And I really struggled with being because some of that was a reflection of how I feel about myself. Is who I am when I just be worthy of approval, of love, of validation, of relationship, period. And so I've found myself hyperachieving, pleasing, doing, and burning out.
Right.
And I was, in 2020, I had a call and I was offered a promotion. And God told me to turn it down. Everything I had worked for. I was this little hood kid. They're about to give me more money than I ever made in my life. I got a kid now. I'm like, yes, hallelujah. Like, I'm going to get some stock awards. Like, they're going to be working in the background for me. I don't got to work for them. And God told me to turn it down. I didn't know what I was going to do next. That scared me. Like, I don't know what. And I go on this journey reaching and grabbing. My no was not my no. I said yes to everything because I was nervous that I was going to miss something that was going to pass me by. And then I launched this entrepreneur endeavor. Biggest thing. I'm ready. I told the world about a vision that I felt like God gave me, a dream that I had, something I felt like I was created for. And a week after, God said, okay, now rest.
Yes.
My restless behind did not want to rest. And God said rest. And I battled it for 1.5 years. Just operating in disobedience. Like rest? What is rest? Y'all heard me earlier. You were talking about napping. And I said, sleep when you're dead. And I could not rest because I felt like I would become insignificant.
And that's the saboteur.
That is the saboteur.
I felt like I would become... Like people would forget about me. My phone would stop ringing. That I would wash up. That I would lose the gifts God gave me. And I was so scared. And then I looked at my 2 little babies.
See.
Yeah.
And they want nothing more from me. They don't want me to do. They just want me to be.
Just to be.
And I found in the moments when I just am.
And they love that. They love that. They're not looking for the high achieving mom.
Exactly.
They're not looking for all of this stuff. They just want you.
And I operate in a more confident place. So I'm teaching them how to become more confident women because I'm not operating out of an insecurity that I have to do. I'm operating out of a confident place that I can just be. And therefore then teaching them that. And so it's just been really interesting.
Because you're a model now. You're a model now. You're not just you. You're a model now.
And so how much peace do you have in just resting now?
I'm walking in it now. I think it's not just peace, but it's joy. When my heart is most full, when my heart sings, when it smiles, it is when I am just here, like having a conversation with you. I don't have to be something I'm not. I can take the mask off. I like my red lipstick still, but thank you. But I can just be like, and that's beautiful. I don't have to say the right words or come off perfect or be something that I'm not. Like I can just come fully, wholly, who I am, and that is enough.
It is enough.
And so that's been really freeing, and it's lifted a lot of the weight and the pressure. The exhaustion, the burnout.
I love that. So many good things have been said. And as Valerie was speaking about letting the little girl out, releasing her, it reminds me of some work that we've done with the Destiny Collective with Marshawn Evans Daniels. And she refers to that little girl as the little me inside of us that tells us, no, don't do it. No, don't take that risk. You're not enough. The imposter syndrome, all that. And so the best thing to do, because that little me serves as a saboteur, is to put it on mute. And so when we think about these saboteurs, they've had years to build muscles. Think about being in a gym, right?
Yeah.
You're constantly working out and you're getting buff and stronger.
Yeah.
Well, that's how the saboteurs grow.
Yeah.
They're in the gym of our minds.
So,
And they're building muscles and they're fortifying themselves. So the only way to really combat that is to strengthen your sage, which is empathy, explore, navigate, innovate, where that creativity comes out, right? So, and of course to activate. And so we have a lot of work to do. Before we were on, Deb and I were talking about pulling back layers. And doing the work is like pulling back the layers of the lies that the saboteurs have convinced us and have influenced us. And so it's pulling back those layers one layer at a time and giving yourself grace to do it. So until next time, I know you'll come back because you want to hear the second half of this. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, be well.